It really doesn't make the least bit of sense to try and stop somebody from doing something like that. Like, riding a motorcycle is a really, really great thing, and it's a lot of fun. You'll have some really great experiences riding a motorcycle, I promise you. And I can't promise you that you're not going to get hurt. I can't promise you that, things won't happen. But you have to understand, if you're going to ride a motorcycle, just as a sole person, a singular person on a motorcycle, if you get into an accident, unfortunately it's always pilot error. In some way, shape, or form, it's always pilot error. And now, yeah, you can absolutely be subjected to other people on the road. And that's pilot error as well. And it's unfortunate when somebody else's mistake can cost you, damage to your body or potentially your life. It's really, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick about any of this, but it's absolutely positively a reality. You can get hurt on a motorcycle. You can get killed. Bad stuff does happen, and it's very unfortunate. And bad stuff happens to good people, irregardless. Every day it happens, which is why you just can't get complacent on a motorcycle. I really liked motorcycles when ever since I can remember. I've always just sort of had a lustful interest towards motorcycles. I really have. Still to this day, I'm so interested and fascinated in them. And when I was a kid, your options were a bit limited. If anything, the scope of two-wheeled vehicles that you can get nowadays has broadened so much. So you can get a bike that's far more individually tailored to you and what you want to do and how you want to ride, which is great. I didn't have that when I was a kid. I had very little options. Far less options. So now that you have more options, that's all the more reason to do that. But, if you are going to have options and you are thinking about getting a motorcycle, do be very considerate of the fact that with modern motorcycles, they've been able to incorporate electronic stability control systems into their bikes, like ABS and traction control. So I would absolutely get a bike, at the very least, with an anti-lock braking system, which is ABS. ABS will keep the tires from locking up and can keep you from getting into an accident. Accident avoidance is key. And when you're on a motorcycle and you want a very organic experience, I understand that, but as motorcycle riders, experienced riders, we all have to understand that the only way motorcycles survive and they continue to make and manufacture motorcycles is if newer generations, upcoming generations, get on bikes and ride. And I know there's a lot of kids now that are growing up and will never know what it's like to drive a car without some sort of electronic aid. And drastically, there's people that don't even know what it's like to drive a stick shift car because they've only driven cars with automatic transmissions, and that's terrible. That's really horrible. It's really sad in a lot of ways. It makes me really bummed out that so many people don't know how to ride motorcycles and drive stick shift cars and stuff. Because that's the way to go. You should have a stick shift car and you should have a motorcycle. Because I understand there's times where you won't want to ride a motorcycle or you want to take a couple passengers or it's not really feasible or practical to have a motorcycle. But you'll find that probably 75% of the time that you have to go somewhere, it's quite feasible and practical to have a motorcycle. You may have to, change your outlook a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to save you on gas. You're going to feel more connected. You're going to feel like a stronger, better, more confident human being. And it's far more adventurous. Why live life without adventure? There's no point to living if there's not adventure in life. So, while you have to be, financially committed to so much shit nowadays, at the very least, if you have to run around and do all these things for work and stuff, you might as well jump on two wheels and have a little adventure in your day-to-day life, whilst, again, helping the economy and the ecosystem by consuming less resources, emitting less pollution, and taking up less space on the road. It's basically a win-win-win all the way around. And yet I see people all over the place that are not riding motorcycles, and I don't get it. Dude, men can ride motorcycles, women can ride motorcycles, to an extent, kids can ride motorcycles. I guess if you're going to be a kid and ride a motorcycle, I mean, you can only do so when you're legally able to. So kids can ride dirt bikes, and which is the best thing leading up to riding a motorcycle. But you know, like, parents and their kids, man, like, I understand that you're fearful of your child getting hurt. And I understand that, like, sometimes it's not even just, you know, you're worried about your kid getting hurt, and then, like, you know, if your kid, like, God forbid, breaks his wrist or something. I understand that it's not just the physical pain, and you're worried about your kid suffering for a little while. I understand that there's medical bills involved with that, and that's troublesome. That's especially troublesome if you look at, I mean, if you take a really broad look and look at why healthcare is so expensive, it'll make you mad. And so many things in this country are so fucking horribly skewed. And it's still, I mean, it's a great country, and I really think we have the ability to bring this country back from, not a very good direction that we're heading in. Especially because, again, look around. I mean, you see all these people running around in cars, and they're not riding motorcycles, so that's not good. More and more people need to be riding motorcycles, period, end of story. But then again, I think if you're going to ride a motorcycle, you shouldn't be dependent on, medication to get you through the day. And dude, I know it's tough sometimes. Sometimes I get really stressed, and I'm just like, fuck, dude, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I really need a beer, so... Like, it happens. It really does, but I think it's socially acceptable nowadays. Which is a little, I guess it's fortunate from a point of relief, but it's unfortunate at the same time, because I wish people had stronger standards about morality and living healthily. And again, riding a motorcycle is a really healthy thing to do, because it'll pump endorphins and adrenaline through your body. That's incredibly good and natural for you, and makes you feel like a real human being. It makes you really feel alive. I mean, there truly is nothing to make you feel more alive than almost dying. And that's a relative thing. I mean, you'll get on a motorcycle for the first time, and just sitting on it, trying to just basically take off, you'll feel like you're gonna die. And realistically, if you're wearing a helmet and a jacket and stuff, I think it's damn near impossible to die just very, very lightly taking off and doing a couple circles in a parking lot. I mean, really, the likelihood of you dying on a motorcycle doing that is slim to none. It's actually ridiculous to think of yourself as dying at that point. But, people are highly irrational, and you have to overcome that fear. You have to push past it, and you have to get on a motorcycle. No two ways about it. I mean, if you're only going to live once, why wouldn't you want to live on a motorcycle? Why wouldn't you want to have your life exist on a motorcycle? Why wouldn't you want it as part of your life, as a talking point? Why wouldn't you want knowledge and understanding of this machine that transports you? I mean, transportation has been one of the most crucial and important things in all of our lives for moving not only people, but materials and goods. People seem to know absolutely nothing about how transportation works in any kind of technical aspect. It drives me nuts, man. I see all these people that just don't have a clue, or even the tiniest vested interest in this stuff. And it really, really, really makes me sad. Because it makes the world just cold and gray when people don't want to learn this stuff. I mean, it's amazing how... It's just amazing the way things are allowed to function nowadays. And, it's encouragement and discouragement. I feel like people are very encouraged when they've done nothing, and they're quite often discouraged from doing something. If that makes any kind of metaphorical sense whatsoever. I don't know if it does or it doesn't, but hopefully it does a little bit. Yeah, it's been an interesting day. It's been a very interesting morning. It's been a very uncomfortable morning. I guess on a little personal tidbit, I had these every now and again, I don't dream a lot, or I don't at least recall my dreams a lot. And man, this morning, like, I kind of woke up from my alarm, like, half in a dream, and I was like, what the hell? And, like, hit the snooze button and fell back to sleep, and, like, fell back into a dream. And the snooze went off again, and I, literally, like, 2 or 3 times fell back into, like, literally, like, the same dream. And it was so vivid and incredible. I was like, I've been, like, shaking, like, all morning. Not literally shaken, but just kind of like put off in this weird state, because sometimes when my dreams are really vivid like that, it really throws me off. But I will say, I do have, from riding a motorcycle, sometimes I do have little like lucid dreams. If I kind of daydream in my head and think about my motorcycle, sometimes I do think about, accidents and stuff. Deadly accidents. And perhaps this will help you. So if you think of something bad happening on a motorcycle and it's in your head, understand that in your head you could always back that dream up, and you can always rework the dream and find a way around that. And that's the key to dreaming, and that's the key to conquering your fears when you're dreaming. Is to allow those dreams to come. And if you see something that looks like if you imagine yourself on a motorcycle and you think you're going to get into an accident, just imagine yourself not getting into that accident, vis-a-vis being able to overcome that and control yourself and control your motorcycle in that environment to be able to avoid an accident. And you'll get there, little by little. I believe in each and every one of you. I know you all have the capacity to ride a motorcycle. It's just whether or not you have the courage to get on a bike and do it. Which I really think, I know you all do. I know you all possess the courage, whether or not you use it. And again, there couldn't be a more righteous thing to do with your life than to ride a motorcycle. Again, right? Once you start to do it and you get it into your system and you start to incorporate it into your life, it's a really incredibly enjoyable thing to do. I think everybody has gotten this idea of excess in their head, with the way, this country has kind of developed over the last, 30, 40 years. But I think, while that's good as far as pushing technology and ideas, I think as far as living a practical life, you have to be somewhat of a minimalist. So again, riding a motorcycle is the best way to do it. I can't say this again, you get better fuel economy, better performance, you get a better life experience while you're having to transport yourself and your body.